Hi friends, it's Becky, and it is time for us to unbox the Dollar Bead Box and Dollar Bead Bag for October 2025. This is a monthly bead subscription that you can get from dollarbeadbox.com. They do have a retail site that's called dollarbeadclub.com. To shop there, you do need to be either a subscriber to Dollar Bead Box or purchase a membership to dollarbeadclub.com, but everything in there is $1. So it's a really great place to find some really good deals on check glass beads, findings, things like that. And that's what you'll find usually in the Dollar Bead Box, is a curated collection of some check glass beads. Sometimes we have findings like charms or things. For the most part, it is very bead forward. There's also the Dollar Bead Bag, which is an add-on subscription. It's only $8 and you get 8 strands of fire polish beads that are also curated to go with the theme for that Dollar Bead Box. So let's get this open and see what our theme is this month. All right. I'm going to be opening these up, pulling out the beads, looking at them in detail, and then organizing them into my 28 grid organizers. And I like this type of organizer when you get lots and lots of different types of beads that are maybe smaller beads or in smaller quantities than some other bead boxes. But that way I can see all of them all at once when I'm designing. And if they sit in this box, I'll never use them. So getting them out here where I can see them is going to be great. Also, stick around to the end of this video because I have decided that I want to make a double strand bracelet with the beads in this box. I don't know what's in here yet, so we're going to figure that out as we go. But it'll be a little bit design on the fly, but I'm really feeling like doing a little bit of designing with my unboxing today. So October 2025, let me unfold this here so that I can fold it over the coupon code. There is a coupon code for subscribers at their site, dollarbeadclub.com, that will give you, it looks like 10% off buy cones. Oh, that's fantastic. That's a really good deal. All right. Now, Dollar Bead Box Collection captures that cozy, crisp magic of fall. Yay! Fall beads! I'm so excited for that. Perfect for designs that pair with chunky knits, steaming mugs, and bonfire nights. Whether you're stringing up something spooky or serene, these hues bring harvest warmth to every project stuck up now. This palette won't last past the season. And on the opposite side, we'll have a list of our strands, our bagged items, and how many you've got in each of these. Sometimes you'll see an or next to the thing, which means they didn't have enough for everyone to get the first one or the last one. So whichever one you get might be a little bit different. So when I am opening up mine, just be aware that yours may be the other color when you get to those ones. They do the same thing with the Dollar Bead Bag. We've got 4 3mm strands, 4 4mm strands, and we've got a list here. We've usually got an or on these, and sometimes it's fun to figure out which one it is. It looks like all of these are ors, so your Dollar Bead Bag may be completely different from mine, but look at these glorious warm fall tones. Oh my gosh, it's like driving down the road with all the leaves changing. You've got some like yellowy colors, you've got some dark reds, you've got some vibrant fiery oranges. Beautiful, gorgeous, perfect. Let's see what we've got in here. Oh, copper accents. Oh, there's even a clasp. Let's use that in our bracelet design. Ooh, some little keys. Are these banjos? They are. Look at these little banjos. How cool is that? Oh, look, findings. We've got some rings with an antique copper plating. How thoughtful. Strands of things. There's a fun bead mix. All right, so that is everyone. So the way I usually do it is I will do the Dollar Bead Bag items first, and then we'll open up our stranded items, and then we'll go through our bagged items. And I will often sort a bead mix. How fun are these? I think these are definitely going to get used in my little 2-strand bracelet design that I am thinking of for this. So I'm just getting these off to the side so they're out of the way. We'll get one of these opened so we can start putting them in as soon as we look at them. As soon as we have looked at them, I should say. I love Dollar Bead Bag and Dollar Bead Box. When I first subscribed, they didn't do this curation. It was just kind of a assortment of beads that didn't necessarily go together, but you could maybe figure out how to make it go together. So when they started actually curating them and putting them together kind of to a theme, I was definitely down for that because it just makes it a little bit funner for me. Ooh, look. Rainbowy colors. I love this. All right, so here's our 3mm selection and our 4mm selection in our Dollar Bead Bag. Let's look at each of these a little bit closer. The first one is either white rose gold or crystal copper. On our 3 strands, I think this is a crystal copper. We've got our copper sheen on there. And usually when I've got these smaller beads and a small opening, it's easier for me to unstring them onto my mat and then scoop them up. So that is what I'm going to do with these guys. All right, then we've got some olive vitriol pink or gold metallic iris. Gold metallic iris, that's what this one is. Looking at. Those are so fun and colorful. All right, the next one is either pumpkin spice or matte topaz. And I think that's what this one is. And then the other is either crystal ruby luster or matte red sangria. This is a matte finish, so I'm going to say maybe matte red sangria. It's very pumpkin spice coated though. But this one is also pumpkin spice coated. Pumpkin spice. So matte red sangria maybe. I'm definitely ready for fall colors. Let's get a little bit closer on this one again. But yeah, the Dollar Bead Box is one of the more frugal bead subscriptions out there. I really enjoy getting it, and I have it for a while. And you get so many great beads with it. You'll see when I do my last shot, you'll see them all laid out. All right, so now we've got matte warm copper or matte copper. This feels like a matte warm copper because it is very, it's not bright copper, it's very like red copper, antique copper colored. My nails match. If you can't tell how ready I am for fall, just look at my hands. It's always one of those things like here in Texas where like I'm ready for fall long before our weather cooperates. So it is just starting to get cool enough to enjoy patio weather. Down here. It's definitely not cold enough for sweaters unless you're inside in the air conditioning, which is usually when I wear my sweaters. I'm also a knitter, so I have a bunch of hand knit sweaters that I usually only wear indoors in air conditioning because I live in Texas. All right, next we've got iced latte or burnt sienna, and this is definitely iced latte. Everything is warm. And this one is either Tangerine Lumi or Topaz Luster. And I feel like it might be Tangerine Lumi. I think Topaz Luster would be a little more like amber colored. This is like grapefruit. And last but not least, we've got either Crystal Royal Ruby Luster or Opaque Coral Vintage Bronze. And that is what I'm guessing this is. Opaque Coral because it has that coral color underneath it. And then that bronze wash over the top, giving it that metallic sheen. All of that sparkle. Ooh, loving it. Absolutely loving it. All right, now let's start looking at our bagged item, or our strung items, our strands from our Dollar Bead Box. What's these guys here? I love those tulip beads. They're so perfect and precious. All right, first we've got some 6mm fire polish beads. This is rose gold luster, which if you got the rose gold luster, or no, it's white rose gold, never mind. It's a different one from the Dollar Bead Bag. This is 20 pieces of these 6mm beads. Next we've got our check glass tulips. They are opaque white with a copper wash, and it is that antique coppery color. This is perfect. These are going to be part of our bracelet design. I am 100% sure of it. Absolutely. Right, and we've got some check glass drukes. And this is, druke is just a round bead. It's either multi-metallic mix or opaque red Vega luster. And this is the multi-metallic mix. Love, love, love them. I think that they'll go really great with these other rainbowy metallic beads too. All right, and then we've got some check glass gem cut rondelles in burnt umber. They are 3 by 5 millimeter in size, and there's 25 pieces on this strand. Look at that. Very warm and golden. Alright, we've also got some medium brown Lucerna bicones in 6 millimeter size. That's these guys here. It's kind of a cooler brown than we were seeing, but still has some warm tones. I think that'll go well with some of the bronze tones that we've been looking at. There we go. Just have that. There we go, the bit that's wrapped around. And these check glass olive beads, they are 5 by 11 millimeters. There are 12 of them on this strand, and this is brown and white mix. Let's look at some of our bagged items. There they are. Okay. These ones are 8 millimeter check glass cherry flowers in burnt copper. There are 10 pieces in this bag. Let's get them all out here. Got a couple of them turned over so you can see the round side. And then we've got some more turned up so you can see the concave side of these little tiny cherry flower beads, and they all have that center drilled hole. I think those are going into the bracelet design too, because they will make great spacers. I mean, we're also getting some other jerks, so we'd have more spacers too. We've got our brass key. These are key charms. They are 12 by 32 millimeters in size. They are double-sided. And there are 2 of them in here, so they will make a great pair of earrings. And then we've got some acid-etched volcano check glass pillows. They are 12 by 15 millimeters. There's one of these. Oh, I love these pillow beads because they're like so organic looking in their shape. And then when they add that acid etching onto it, it makes it even more organic looking. But with that volcano wash on it, it just really makes it otherworldly. Oh, then there's our 6 millimeter spring rings. These are interesting because they are not like jump rings. They are multi-coil. There we go. And there are about 100 of them in that packet. Those will be really interesting to work with. Figure out how to use them. I don't think I've ever used these in jewelry design before, so that's going to be a fun challenge. They are 6mm in size though. All right, then we've got our pewter spirals. That's these guys here. There are 4 of them. They're antique copper plated. And then some round howlite beads. They are 8mm in size, and they are white howlite. That's usually the color that howlite comes in unless it's dyed. And there are 6 of them in here. And I love howlite for how all of the cracks in it. All right, next we've got some check glass wild rose. This one is opaque brown with a cranberry wash. How cool is that? You don't see as much cranberry on that side, but you do on that one. It's got a hole that's drilled all the way through from top to bottom. I need to clear that hole out. I can do that later. And then a check fire polish beads. This is chrysolite with copper. There are 8 pieces of these. They are 6mm fire polish beads. And then we've got our banjo charms. These are super cute. I love these. Did you know that I have a banjo-lele? Because I know how to play the ukulele, I was like, well, I'd like to get something with a little more twang to the sound, but I don't want to have to learn how to play a banjo. My dad knew how to play a banjo, and I got in trouble when I was a kid because I kept trying to play it. And it's not a great idea to let 5-year-olds play banjos, let me tell you. I love those. And then we've got some check glass drukes in Aztec gold. These are 3mm drukes, and there are 50 pieces of these in this bag. This is what I was talking about when I said we had other spacers we could use, because these glass drukes will make fantastic spacers. Alright, get these guys put away and grab out these last 2. I'm going to be sorting my mix, so let's start with our heart and key charm set. Although it says charm, they are 18mm in size, you could probably use these as toggle clasps. Where are you going? Especially with the way that the loop is on the key right there in the middle of it. So it can go through here. Loop, loop, loop. Maybe. stay there. Yep, that would work as a toggle clasp. Let's get you closer up so you can see the detailing on this, because there is some texture detail on the key. That's the back side. And this heart is double-sided. All right, time for the mix. This is the Bronze Iris Check Glass Matte Metallic Mix. So between the copper, bronze, and gold details, I think we've got most of our warm colors covered. Oh, don't forget about rose gold either. All right, so we've got some wavy discs with a center drilled hole like that. Put those over there. We have one nuggety bead. We have some of these square spike beads. Oh, and a round spike bead. A couple of those. And you may have different number of the same types of beads in your bead mix than I get in mine, because it will be kind of a random assortment. And we have some wide check glass dagger beads. They are single hole daggers. And then we've got some, ooh, a broken bead. All right, so I just have the broken end. I don't have the other end. That's okay. We've got some long rectangle beads, a couple of those. Some square beads. And these, I don't know the exact name for this type of bead, but it's like a little pyramid with an abruptly cut off point. It's like, and there are several of these. So here's our geometric shapes. And now we've got these sort of T-shaped beads. I learned the name of these once a while ago, but it was a while ago, and since then I cannot remember the name of these, but that's okay, because they're still just really fun little beads. I like the way that they have a little curve on either side of them. They would fit really great between some curvy beads in a design. Set these with those. And now we've got some 2-hole beads. We've got some chili beads. Let me turn a couple of these over so that we can see how we've got kind of a concave side, and then we've got our outer rounded side. And the holes are not centered, they are closer to the rounded point rather than to the pointy point on each of these for the chili beads. And then we've got some bibos. And these bibo beads are a little bit peanut shaped, but not totally peanut shaped. They do have a curve on them, and then on the curved part of this, on both sides of it, you've got your 2 holes. So we've got 2 different 2-hole beads in this bead mix. All right, so how am I going to sort these? I think I might do daggers in one. Actually, I might move these to somewhere else so that I could have my organic shapes over here. My daggers and points in here. My geometric shapes in here, and then my 2-hole beads in here. There we go. All sorted. And then these two can go join my other key shapes in this section. All right, let's look at this all together, and then I will come back and make a bracelet with y'all. That is such a fall palette. I am so happy with this. So let me decide what beads I want to pull out, and I will be right back. All right, so I think I've got it all figured out how I want these to go. I'm definitely using some of these tulip beads, and I'm going to use the these little metallic like t-shirty kind of beads. We're going to use those for one strand. And I'm going to be using these little 3mm beads as little spacers between them for that strand. And then for the second strand, I have the colorful, which ones were these? Gold metallic iris, 3mm file polish beads, and the multi-metallic mix drooks, these 4mm drooks. And then we're going to throw in some of these cherry blossom beads. So we've got those. I'm going to be using some copper color beading wire, the brass, it's totally mixed metals by the way, the brass toggle closures, and some gold. Could use copper, but we've got gold tones in here too, so let's use some of these crimps for our closure. For tools, don't need all of them. I only need 4 because I'm going to be crimping 4 strands or 4 ends. All right, I've got some chain nose pliers, some brown nose pliers, and some flush cutters. So let's get our strands of beading wire. I'm going to go around my wrist loosely, at least once, with some crossover for crimping. And I'll cut the second strand the same length. And I'm going to do my crimping and make loops, and then we will connect them together using jump rings to our clasps. So let's make a loop on each end to start with. Actually, no. Just in case I need to adjust things on each end later, I'm just going to use, there we go, a bead stopper on each of these strands. That way we can play around. Since this is on the fly, I want to give myself the room to change my mind or to do things differently on each end, or even to just start from the middle and go outward from there. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do actually. So let's grab one of these guys, grab this middle bead, and I'm just going to start stringing. Oop. One of these. I need to look up the name of that bead because I learned it once and then I forgot what it was. It's just such a cool shape and it's so different. Usually I only see it in these check glass mixes from Dollar Bead Box. And there isn't any way on here for me to make sure that they're twisted the right way. So they are going to go however they want to on that strand. And yeah, I think that's a good reason to not crimp one end before you go, so that you can work from the middle out and make sure that you are even on either side. so that's 1/2. Scooch that down. Start adding beads on the other half. We'll see how long it needs to be, because I might just fill in the rest of the space on here with some of these 3mm fire polish beads. Yeah, that's definitely what we're doing. How much space does that take up? It's going to be about 1/2 inch maybe. But then there'll be the jump rings too. So let's see. So I need to add some more of these beads in order to add a little more length on each end. Do not go flying. There we go. So let's add 3 of these. 1, 2, 3 on each end. 1, 2, 3 to make a total of 4 after the other beads. Because I already had 1 on each end. So I'm trying to make sure that gravity doesn't screw up my measuring. I think that's going to be long enough. So let's take this, and we will do some crimping later. Just going to move that aside for now and work on, look how perfectly those go together. They're going to be on separate strands, so that's one of the things that's going to bridge that strand and this strand. All right, so for this one, I'm going to grab a 3mm fire polish, my 4mm Druk, a 3mm fire polish bead, and then plop one of these guys right here on the strand as a little spacer or as a little design element right there. I'm going through the concave part of it. I think we determined that there were 10 of these, right? Okay. So then let's just do that again. And I'm trying not to have 2 of the same color next to each other on this, just to keep it nice and colorful, but I'm not doing it in like rainbow order or anything silly like that. Just having some fun with these bead colors. Trying to keep it random feeling. Truly random things would have 2 beads or more next to each other. So it's random-esque when I just make sure that there's not 2 that are the same color next to each other. How about a red one next to that? And then a yellow. That's what's making it fun. And for this, I may be adding more beads onto the ends too, but for right now, we're going to have these guys going on like this. Oh, how about a red, a blue, and a purple? There we go. That's fun. Purple. I thought you were purple. There we go. That's the one. Purple. And green. It's very colorful. So now that I'm about at the halfway point of this, I'm going to turn these around. And so going through the concave part first, I'm going to go through the convex side so that my flowers are pointing outward. It's a small detail, but I like that they can do that. Yellow. How about that gold? There we go. And then purple. Those will be fun next to each other. Green, orange, and another purple. All right, now let's get this, close this up. Alright, another repeat on each end of just this part, since I am out of my cherry beads. That. Let's do it on the other end too. Those are too close together. Let's do a purple. And maybe a red. Okay. I think that is going to be pretty close enough. Just adding one more of these to each. There we go. To each end. All right. That is going to work well, I think. So let's get these ends crimped and then put this together. Right, friends? All right, this end. I'm going to put the wire on here. Oh, this is fine. That is totally, well, fine. Because I can just grab some extra wire for my medium wire in order to make these crimps work better. So the fine wire is too small for a magical crimper to really work on its own. You need more meat inside the crimp for the ravioli to work. And so to add more meat, I'm just going to take some leftover soft flex wire from a previous project, which is why you always want to keep some of these, and stuff it in here between those wires where you've made your little loop. Or I could crimp these together. No, I'd like for them to have more movement, so they will be crimped separately. All right. Sorry, I was considering it. So if you haven't seen that done, this little 2x2 crimp tube is going to go right here into this little concavity on my magical crimper. I'm going to make sure that it is centered and give it a smush, and that's the ravioli that I was talking about, needing a little meat for. You turn it to a 90-degree angle, give it another smush, and then just hit it from different angles. Go around as much as you can until it stops resisting. And then you know that the crimping is done. I'm going to snip off my excess wire here. And my excess wire here. And it ends up like on the inside of the loop. It's always so awkward to get to. Well, let's just snip it from this end. There we go. So now I've got a little loop on this end. Slide that down. Let's get a loop here. Wait, where'd my extra wire go? Okay, I've got more. Right, there we go, because it's 0.14 inch, 0.014, and this is made for 0.018 to 0.019. That's why it doesn't quite work with this wire unless you stuff it in there. Well, I just wasn't paying attention to the wire that I was grabbing. I was paying more attention to the color of the wire than the size, but it still works. It will still work for this purpose. It is good beading wire, so go. Let's do it on the other side. I can actually go through a couple of these since this is fine wire. I'm just going to curve this to take up some of the slack in that wire. But we also want to stuff that. Make sure that we can get that crumped. All right, there we go. Do the same thing on this end. Just gonna crimp all these guys. Let's bend this so we can take up some of that slack. Okay. It's quite a lot of crimping. But now let's go ahead and connect these all together. All right. Question is, with all of these different colors of metals on here, let's go ahead and throw some more copper in here. How about that for our jump rings? So, chain those pliers. I'm going to put both of these on here and then connect it to our heart end of our clasp. I like a little extra articulation on the toggle end, so I'll use 2 jump rings for that. But before I start, let's just double check. That is absolutely going to be long enough. It is 100% long enough. So, and the 2 jump rings should not make it too long either. It'll be loose, but not too loose. And this will fit a 7.5 inch wrist. That's what I usually make my bracelets to. My wrist is actually a little less than 7.5 inches, but 7.5 makes it so that they will fit pretty nicely. All right, and let's make sure that we are going through this in the same direction. Oop. There we go. Same with this one. There we go. Close that one up. Close the jump ring. And grab a second jump ring to connect. There we go. I'm just really leaning into this mixed metals thing. Oof. There we go. Now we've got a double strand bracelet. Let's see what it looks like on. I'm going to link to my tutorial on this little bracelet assist tool because I find it really useful, and it was super easy to make with some 18 gauge wire and just some leftover beads from a previous sort of bead box. But again, it makes it really easy. There we go. To put on your bracelets by yourself. I'll link to that tutorial in the description if you'd like. There we go. And here are the beads that I have left. I still have some of these. I'll put them back in their little organizing spots in a minute. That is the Dollar Bead Box and Dollar Bead Bag for October 2024. There are going to be some links in the description if you would like to check out Dollar Bead Box, and a coupon code that you can use that will give you a discount off of your first month's subscription. If you like what you see, hit the like button, and if you want to see more, hit subscribe. And until next time, my friends, happy beading.